Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to say, Call Halal Yahweh, Bahashim Yahawashi, Bahashim Ruach HaKodash, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who taught us His truth and rule well. And Shalom to the hopeful elect, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahawashi, Bahashim Ruach HaKodash, Barakatham. It's the brother Kazah from the Men About 12 West Coast, coming back at it again with another lesson. And this lesson is going to be coming into the inspiration of a dream I had, 2 or 3 days ago. All right. Now, this dream, nothing, crazy, happened. The reason why the dream, stuck out to me was, really about the symbolism, So I'm going to bring out, what happened in the dream, and then I'm going to touch upon a couple scriptures, all right, and then I'm going to bring an article out, and then we're going to conclude it with some more scriptures. All right, so, to get into it, all right, this dream that I had, I was, in the dream I was, driving down this road and I was approaching an intersection, all right? And on the right side of the intersection, it's kind of, little walls, hedges or whatever. You couldn't see what was, coming from the right side of the intersection, but it didn't really matter because, the dream, I was set in my mind, I'm gonna go straight, So as I'm approaching the intersection, I see these two cars, coming from the right, appear suddenly, and they, make an abrupt, a right turn, going towards the direction that I'm going towards, and they were, it was a very, sudden and abrupt turn because they were in distress. All right. And the reason for that, which that caught my eye, I'm like, yo, why these two cars just, make that turn? And then, shortly after, as I'm, at the intersection, a bear, just comes up from behind them, chasing them. Now, I don't know, how big bears get, you know what I'm saying? But this bear that was coming after these cars was huge. All right, it was bigger than each car. One car was a regular sized car, the other car was a SUV, and it was a huge bear, that was coming after these cars. So I see the bear, I'm at the intersection, mind you, I'm driving through, because the light was green. All right. And I make, an evasive maneuver, a quick U-turn, because the way, the bear came out, was very big. And Salakia, if you, hear background noise, I'm filming this, I'm doing this lesson at the crib, you know what I mean? But this was, a very big bear, man. So I, make that, evasive maneuver, I turn around, and I head the other direction, and I turn around and I see, the bear chasing me, but that's where, I wake up, like I said, it's not a, super crazy dream, it just, symbolism of it, the bear, represents the Medes, and the Medes, in today's in end time prophecy, represents the Russians. All right. And the reason why, the scriptures do this and have it written like this, in code and, ultimately in dark sayings, all right, and similitudes, is so that this devil, doesn't find out, how his kingdom, his dominion is going to play out until it gets played out. All right. And ultimately, it's because his secrets, all right, which is, secrets of the scriptures, all right, from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, is given unto the servants, his prophets. Okay. So we're going to go, just go into the bear. We're going to go into the book of Daniel, chapter 1, chapter 7, and start from the top. All right. Now we're not going to break down, the whole thing. We're just going to, break down the first two beasts, and then just get the point there. All right, move on to the article. So Daniel's chapter 7 verse 1, and it reads, "And in the first year of Belshazzar, the king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. And then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. And Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea, and four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another." All right, so these four great beasts represents, four empires that arose, that have the main spotlight, as far as the ancient times go, and yeah, you did have, a lot of empires and things of that nature, all over the world. But these four great beasts, these are the ones that, are the main ones. All right, because, really, if you look at it, all right, which, just giving an example, the Greek Empire, everybody knows about them, but nobody could talk about, the different dynasties that the ancient Chinese had. Why? Because they're not really significant, and they don't play a role in the prophecies, So continuing on, all right, and it reads, and they were diverse one from another. All right, verse 4. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. All right, so this lion with the eagle's wings is talking about the Assyrian Empire. All right, which, if I'm not mistaken, the Assyrian Empire, actually, let's grab that. The Assyrian Empire, let me see, the symbol, all right, was the griffin. All right, now they, put up, several things, but there it is right there, Assyria. You see the lion, which, you see a lion being struck down, but I think this is another one right here. You see the wings back there. All right. But let me see. Assyrian. Oh, there we go. There's another one, which they put a head of a man there, which also, the Assyrians, were known for being, ferocious in warfare, so, that part right there. So it says, and the eagles, it's like the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. All right. So, looking at the symbolism, all right, you see that, that's talking about the Assyrian Empire. All right. Now I'm laying this down like this because, going into chronological time. All right. But we're not going to focus on the Assyrian or the Babylonian Empire. All right. So it says, and I beheld the wings thereof were plucked. All right. Now this is going into the Babylonian Empire. Okay. This is the Babylonian Empire. All right. Because the wings of the Assyrians, looks like the wings of the first lions at the eagle wings, was plucked up, meaning that it had, its power taken away from it, which it makes sense, symbolically speaking, because, if a creature is winged, any that's basically its main form of power, like you take a bird, for example, you clip its wings off and it's powerless, won't be able to fly. It's just subject to the mercies of its environment, So continuing on, and it reads, all right, so this is, going into, the Assyrian Empire, falling down, and the Babylonian Empire rising up after it. All right, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. All right, so this is, dealing with Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. All right, so verse 5, and I beheld another beast, a second like to a bear. Now, it's a key point right here. All right, second like unto a bear. All right, now this is talking about the Medo-Persian Empire. All right, which you got the Medes, they were, a brother told me they were Japhetic people, they were Japhetic people, and you had the Persians, they were ruling, side by side until the Persians, basically took control. All right, that's why, when you look at history and you look at the references of it is not called the Medo-Persian Empire, but the Persian Empire. All right, and it says, and it raised up itself on one side, all right, because that's representing the Persians, which is the true biblical nationality is the Elamites. All right, they taking dominion of the land, and holding that preeminence over their Japhetic counterparts. All right, and it said, and they had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said, thus unto it, arise and devour much flesh. Okay, so so like going into the 3 ribs. Going into the 3 ribs. All right, to prove that this is talking about the Medo-Persian Empire, which I'm gonna say it like that, due to edification's sake, and to tie it into the prophecy of how that's gonna play out in the end times. All right, we're gonna bring out this map. All right, it starts with the with what would be modern day Iran, and you have India, to the side. So this is modern day Iran. All right, now it's under different names. What I'm saying, this is what these areas were known as. In ancient times, when you had Parthia, things like that. All right, and then you had one of the ribs. Was one of the ribs. All right, was basically Babylon, Armenia, that area. That was one of the ribs that it conquered. All right, another of the ribs was Egypt, Libya. All right, that was another part of the ribs, part of the 3 ribs that was conquered. And the third part of the 3 ribs that was conquered, or should I say the third rib that was conquered, was the northern part, which is Macedonia, Thrace, all right, Turkey, the islands right here. That was the third part of the ribs that was conquered. All right, so this is in reference to Daniel's chapter 7. All right, this is what played out. All right, that's how like these scriptures, man. They're very grand. Yahweh, Salakia, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai does things in the grand scheme of things, man. Well, not just in the grand scheme of things. What I wanted to say was Yahweh Bashim Yahushai does things, from the very least. As the scripture says, the sparrow shall not fall without it being sanctioned by the Heavenly Father, all the way into the grand, where we're talking about great kingdoms and empires rising up. All right, and number 6, just because I said the reference, the Greek Empire. All right, and after this I beheld him low like a leopard. All right, and the reason why this is the Greek Empire is because it's talking about Alexander the Great. Okay, how he rose up and basically he took over. Leopard is known for being swift. He took over his dominion, he took over his territory, and he subdued the Persians. All right, in the span of 10 years. All right, if I remember correctly. Okay, and it was also known that he had a leopard pelt, which he would wear. All right, so that's going into the Greeks and their time to shine, basically. That's why I said earlier, you read about Alexander the Great, which we call him the freak, because that's what he was, but you don't really know much about the different dynasties and the different shoguns of China, Japan, even the East Indians. They had their their little thing going, right? But you don't know about that because it's not significant. It's miscellaneous. All right. And continue on, breaking down this verse just for edification's sake. It says, which had upon the back of its 4 wings of a fowl, the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Now these 4 heads, represent the four generals that started to rule, after Alexander's demise. Which we're not going to get into that because I'd be straying away from the main point. It's just a side point. All right, so going back to the main topic, all right, which is the bear representing the Medes, in in these latter times, in these end time prophecies, all right, the bear represents the Russians. Okay, and the reason why, the first picture I brought out, is the Russian bear. All right, you take to the internet. All right, the Russian symbol. You don't even have to, look up anything. You just see Russian bear. That's the first thing that pops up, man. Which you have, the hammer and sickle. That's their new stuff. But national symbols of Russia. All right, flag, coat of arms, the Russian Eurasian brown bear. There you go. Okay, just like America, has all these other symbols. But what is its symbol? The American eagle. All right, so this is one of the indicators that the when the scriptures talk about the Medes in the end time prophecies, it's talking about the Russians. Okay, so we're gonna hit this article. All right, and as one of these recent articles, I pulled up, keeping updated with the situation out there. But it's a very significant event nonetheless. It's the article. It says Putin issues a warning to irresponsible Western politicians. All right, now you see, the picture right there. They don't sugarcoat it, man. Those are nukes. All right, that's that Sarmat, Satan II, hypersonic missiles, man. That's what they got, and that's what that's the waster that's going to destroy that was created by the Smith. So continuing on, and it reads, Russia is not threatening anyone with nuclear arms, but the president told the West to remember what Moscow is capable of, all right, which is that nuclear destruction, which is the second death. That's going to be the ultimate destruction of this place, all right, that great lake of fire. Okay, that's going to happen here in Babylon. All right, continuing on, and Russia is not threatening anyone with nuclear weapons, but everyone should know what it has, and what it could use if the need arose. And Russian President Vladimir Putin said during a plenary session of St. Petersburg International Economic and Forum on Friday. So he said this on Friday, man. All right, Putin said he was aware that some irresponsible Western politicians, despite their seniority, have been ranting about Russia allegedly upping the nuclear ante. All right. And he says, what are we supposed to do? We respond accordingly. As soon as we answered, they cling to us and say, here is Russia threatening. We do not threaten anything, but everyone should know that everyone should know what we have and what we will use if necessary to protect our sovereignty. All right. Now, the reason why I read this is because, you have to see the spirit that Putin is in. All right, as it says right there, the Russian leader says. So these are, quote unquote, the words out of his mouth. And that's the spirit that Yahweh Shem Yahushai is putting on these rulers. All right, these modern day kings. Okay, because nothing is outside of his dominion. All right, nothing. Okay, as it is written, Proverbs 21:1. The king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Okay, so that's the Lord putting that spirit on Putin, to get aggressive. That's the hooks being locked into Russia's jaw. Gog and Magog. All right, which we could get that. We basically got the key point here. All right, so we go Ezekiel 38. All right, which, Gog and Magog, you go into that, just a further edification. All right, Gog and Magog, just a little bit of a background. All right, that's going into, let me see the map. Let's go. Where's it at, man? There it is. All right, so Gog and Magog, you see right there, Russia. You have Magog right there. That's, the eastern part of Europe. Belarus, Ukraine, you know what I'm saying? But it's really right here, man. Gog and Magog. All right, that's Russia, man. You know. So the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 1, and the word of Yahweh Shemel Shai came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog and the land of Magog, and the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith Yahweh Shemel Shai, our power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, and the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. All right, so this is the Lord, prophesying against these modern day lands, which is Russia. All right, and the reason I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. Okay, so this is Yahweh Shemel Shai, basically forcing the nations to go to war. All right, because if you look at the spirit that these Russians were in years back, Putin held a press conference. Shalaki, let me see. Putin warns Western media. All right. Well, Western journalists. Let me see. This is something that happened years ago. He basically warned the Western media, that if certain things don't happen, the world is going to be taken into a direction that there's no coming back from, roughly paraphrasing. All right, now I can't find this, due to all the, recent things that's coming out. Let me try journalists. If I can't find it, man, it is what it is. But let me see. Yeah, it appears to be, drowned away, by all the recent, things that's been going on. But either way, if you try to find it, you will find it, man. All right, so it is there. Okay, so what was going on is the Lord put the hooks into their jaws. Basically they forcing them to war. All right, now turn thee back. All right, and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth. You see, that's the Lord that's, ultimately, putting them in line to go to war. All right, and it says, in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. All right, now Persia is the modern day, Elamites, man. That's the Persia. You know what I'm saying? That's Iran. All right, it's modern day Iran. Okay, Ethiopia, Libya, right? These are countries that, were done dirty by Esau Edom, man. You see the movie Black Hawk, which that takes place in Somalia. Which, let me see if Somalia is in Ethiopia. Oops, let me see. East Africa. Oh, okay. So it's actually the whole country, but it's basically right next to Ethiopia if you look right there on the map. All right, so they basically the same people, as far as the nation goes. They're Hamitic nations. They're Cushites, man. That's their true biblical nationality. All right, and you see the movie Black Hawk Down, all the intervention, Esau being there. He's still there to this day. You had Libya, which, you had the situation happen with Muammar Gaddafi. These devils, everywhere they go, man, they want to basically, destabilize and have dominion and preeminence over these other nations. And that's a big reason why these other nations are turning against this devil, man. Because they see, what he's, becoming and how he's doing them. Now they banded together against us, which is the reason why I said that. In the first place, why they turn against him is because they banded together all together to come against us, to take us out of dominion, take us out of our power. which was all prophecy anyways, but now that this devil's on top, and he's ruling the world with wickedness, as it is written in the book of Isaiah chapter 14. Let me see. Isaiah chapter 14. All right, where in verse 6, where he says, "He who smote the people in wrath with a continuous stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted and unhindereth." All right, so this devil rules the nations in anger, man. All right, you see, what happens abroad in these other countries, distant countries, and how they plunge into chaos because they don't want to follow suit with what this devil has wants them to do. All right, so these are these countries that's raising up. All right, so verse 6, "And Gomer and all his bands, and the house of Tagarma of the north quarter, and all his bands, and many people with thee." Verse 7, "Be thou prepared, and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them." Okay, and that's what is basically taking place. All these countries depend on Russia. Iran, they lean upon Russia for that security. All right, why? Because of their military, man. Russia has a great military. All right, which is not created in vain. It will be used. It is being used. All right, and it's all playing into the prophecies. All right, now Salakia, for once again, the background noise. What I'm saying? I had to film this. Not film this, but record this. Inside the crib. It'd be too hot out there, man. But hey, it is what it is, man. Such is the conditions of the battle. All right, so going into the Mede. All right, let me see. Delight in them. All right, now we're gonna bring this out, and then we're gonna close out. Okay, so let me see. We're just gonna, this is good to wrap it up with. All right, so Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17. All right, so when it talks about this isn't talking about the Medes in the ancient times. All right, this is talking about a completely new kingdom in the modern times. All right, that the scriptures put the code word as use the code word as the Medes, but it's really not the Medes. It's the Russians. All right, so book of Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17. "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver. And as for gold, they shall not delight in it." All right, so these Medes, like I said, that's the Russians. It says, "And they shall not regard silver. And as for gold, they shall not delight in it." And one of the pointing factors to that, all right, is, let me see. It's an article I saw somewhere over here. Yup, right there. All right, so Russian president urges seizing opportunities arising from sanctions. So here it is. They're being, attacked economically, and the Russians is looking at it as an opportunity. They're literally rolling, with the punches, financially. And the reason why is because they're not regarding silver. All right. And as for gold, they're not delighting in it. They're creating their own, they're building up their own currency, which is the ruble. All right. They got their own thing going on with that. They banding together with these other countries, and they ultimately, they have no use for that US dollar. They have no use for the trade between them and the rest of the European Union, which I did a lesson on that, a couple weeks ago, concerning the fuel trades, between the solid fuels, the gasoline, the oil. The Russians ain't hurting because they're not trading with the European Union. They just went and found other, clients to trade their oil with. It is the European Union that is hurting because of that, and that might be one of the factors as to why they turn around and go against America, which is manifestation of the scripture. The beast shall hate the whore. All right, which the beast represents NATO, the EU, and the whore represents Babylon. All right, so continuing on, and it reads, and they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men into pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb, and their eyes shall not spare children. Okay, so I'm gonna read it again. Their bows shall dash the young men into pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb, and their eyes shall not spare children. All right, and why? Because they're gonna come with this. All right, the ICBM missiles, man. All right, ain't no nuclear blast gonna go around, a child or a baby and say, oh no, I can't, burn you up because you a baby or a child. No, everything's gonna be destroyed in its wake. All right, in its path. Verse 19, in Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when Yahweh overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. All right, now, the same way, the scriptures call the Russians the Medes in prophecy. All right, the Babylon is not talking about the ancient Babylon. It's talking about America. All right, how it says the glory of kingdoms and the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency. Why? Because this place was the standard of society. This place was at the pinnacle of what modern society is. That's why, you have many nations that adopt its ways. That goes into Revelations 18. For all, these nations have drunk of the wine over fornication, roughly paraphrasing. All right. You got, people that's, not people, but these other nations in their own countries, in their own kingdoms, that's, doing away with their traditions to adopt that Western way of living. All right. So that's what, that goes into. And it continues on. And it says, shall be as when Yahweh overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, going into how this place is going to be destroyed with fire, thermonuclear fire, thermonuclear destruction, man. That's how this place is going to be destroyed. That's the second death. Not no, hell that you get cast down after you die and then you burn 1,000 years. You know what I'm saying? No, those are just cunningly devised fables that's meant to keep you under that control. All right, so continuing on, it says, and it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. All right, but wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures. And the owl shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance, and the wild beasts of the highlands shall cry in their desolate houses, and the dragons in their palaces, and her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. All right, so that's gonna be the end, result of this whole land. It's gonna be a desert, a barren desert where it's gonna be nothing but, doleful creatures, man. As the scripture says, it's gonna be nothing, but what's it called? Just the worst of the worst, basically. Ain't gonna be no more paradise. Ain't gonna be no more green. Desert creatures, man. Scorpions, dragons, reptile lizards, you know what I'm saying? Snakes, owls, things that are, not pleasant to look upon, the creepy crawlies and things of that nature. That's what this place is gonna be reduced to. The glory of these devils, man. That's what it's gonna be reduced to, man. All right. So, hey, man, Lord willing, this was a edifying lesson. All right. Just going off the inspiration of that dream. Nothing crazy happened in the dream. But it was just the symbolism of it. This big old bear. You know what I'm saying? Chasing these cars, man. Turning around, chasing me. I wake up, man. That's the Russian bear. Let's do a lesson on that. Not to boast myself up or anything, but hey, man. With that, I'm gonna say, call Allah Yahweh Ba'Hashim Yahushai Ba'Hashim Rakha Kudash. Forgive me the spirit to do this lesson. And Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. With that, I'm gonna say, Shalom. On to the next.